So everybody's favorite, the HST. Now when the HST was announced, what the Taxpayers Federation advocated for was a break for families by reducing the amount of personal income taxes paid. The issue for the Taxpayers Federation with the HST is that about half of our supporters like the HST, because they're mostly businesses in fact, and the other half didn't like the HST because the reality is that it's a shift of the tax burden from business to consumers. One thing that everybody agrees about though is the way they brought the HST in was just completely bogus. So what we did was call for a reduction in personal income taxes via an increase in the basic personal exemption. Now on September the 1st, when the government brought in its little mini budget, what did they do? They announced an increase in the basic personal exemption. I'm taking personal credit for that. And that was a win for taxpayers, and it was a good step in increasing the incentive for people to work, save, and invest. Because let's face it, here in BC, and actually in all of Canada, taxes, we are taxed to death. Taxes must go down, but we must not shift the burden of that lower taxes, along with higher spending, to future generations via a higher debt. Now the other thing the governments have got to stop doing is cutting one tax to great fanfare while increasing other taxes. So the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is also calling for an elimination of the carbon tax, the medical services premium, or what I like to call the health tax, and everyone's favorite, the property transfer tax. The government must not give with one hand and then take away with the other. So we have two taxes now, at least the ones that I have seen anyway, that increase automatically every year. And one of those is the carbon tax that I've spoken out quite strongly about in the past. And the other is the medical services premium, or the health tax. Now, a lot of people in British Columbia believe that the health tax is an insurance premium that goes to pay for health care in the same way as our auto insurance goes to pay for our auto insurance. But that's not the case at all. The medical services premium or health tax is a poll tax. It's a per person tax where each one of us individually pays a certain amount per year. The health tax doesn't go to pay for health care any more than it goes to pay for roads, education, or anything else. It goes directly into general revenue. Without a doubt, the health tax would have been eliminated long ago if it had been called the Bureaucrat Salary Enhancement Levy. Am I right? On January the 1st, 2010, the health tax will go up by 6% to $684 per individual and $1,368 per family. Now, the way they've got this health tax increasing creates the possibility of that health tax spiraling completely out of control. The health tax is set to rise by the same proportion as the increase in the healthcare budget every year. If the healthcare budget goes up by 6% over the next 10 years, that health tax is going to double. That means that each individual will be paying $1,368 per year, and families are going to get hit with a health tax of $2,736 per year. Now, how likely is it that that health budget is going to go up and up? Yeah, it's very likely. Right now, 14% of BC's population is over age 65. But by 2032, 25% of the population is going to be over 65. Now, people who are, when do we use healthcare? We use healthcare when we're really young, when we're born, and then we use a lot of healthcare when we're really old, when we're about to, die. So right now, people over age 65 use about 44% of the healthcare budget. So as you can see, without reform of the healthcare system, healthcare costs will continue to accelerate, and so will the health tax. Can we turn this tax grab around? Yes, we can. BC and Ontario now are the only two provinces left in Canada with a health tax. Alberta eliminated its health tax in 2009. And in fact, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation Alberta office spent 6 years advocating for the elimination of the health tax in Alberta, and it's gone now. That left more money in the hands of hard-pressed individuals and families in Alberta and took money out of the hands of governments who seem ever more dedicated to wasteful spending. But we can't wait for 6 years here in BC. That health tax directly impacts a family's bottom line, has nothing to do with health care, and everything to do with a tax grab. These governments, let's face it, are spending addicts, and taxpayers must take away that drug. The health tax has got to go. Now, I have to say, I thought it was pretty ironic that Bill Vander Zalm was heading up the anti-HST effort, because he was the one who brought in the property transfer tax. The property transfer tax was introduced in 1988, has no known economic benefit, taxes mobility, and is a job killer that discourages companies from locating in British Columbia. Now that new homes are subject to the HST, it is imperative that the government eliminate the property transfer tax. The property transfer tax, at least when people were buying and selling lots of houses, generated about $1 billion a year in revenue on the backs of families struggling to buy homes, searching for a better life in new cities and towns, or on businesses trying to expand in other communities or come into the province. The property transfer tax adds to the housing affordability crisis we have in this province, or at least in the Lower Mainland, which has been made worse now with the addition of the harmonized sales tax. And you know what? The Liberals know this is a bad tax. I'm sure there are no Liberal Party members here in the audience today, but so you know that a motion at the BC Liberal Convention in 2006 moved that the government abolish the property transfer tax. That resolution was passed with overwhelming support and is part of the BC Liberal Party policy. It's time to follow through. So they say that the first step to recovery is admitting that we have a problem. And if that's the case, we're not on our way to recovery. When we look past the fiscal fantasy, we see the BC government has a spending problem, not a revenue problem. This province needs massive spending reform to return to prosperity. Now, if we care about the well-being of our children and grandchildren and want to leave them with something other than a legacy of debt and higher taxes in the future, or if we really want to be able to have somebody else fund our retirement and actually work in the old folks' home, we need to turn the direction of government spending around. We must get rid of the deficit, start making real reductions to the debt. The reality is that demographics mean we will not be able to ride the debt-fueled gravy train till we die. Thank you very much.